We're working to a tight schedule. Gillard's got a train to get back, so we'll start promptly. We all have a common concern. That's the common concern of all of us here tonight, is resolving the conflict in that area of the Eastern Mediterranean, which until the founding of the modern state of Israel has been known for millennia as Palestine. It is, I suggest, no exaggeration to say that the peace of the world for the foreseeable future depends upon the resolution of that conflict. To resolve, we're here to later discuss. We will, first of all, we hope it will be resolved tonight, and we will hear and later discuss the views of our speaker, Gilad Atzmon, who has strong and deeply researched views on the subject. Many of you will have questions. Please write them on one of the cards that are in your seat with your name and pass them up to me, and we will pass them to Gilad when they come up. Before I introduce Gilad, I'd just like to make clear my position, that I believe that present is probably the same position as all those present who are of my generation are of the deaf. I was brought up and grew up very well aware of the debt all those who fought for human rights owed to the Jews, to Jewish thought and to Jewish activists. Like many, I thought of the kibbutz as an admirable form of applied socialism. What has happened in Palestine has saddened me deeply. Our speaker, Gilad Atzmon, is well qualified to speak on these matters. He was born in Tel Aviv in 1963. He has Israeli and British nationality. He has served in the Israeli Defense Force in the Lebanon. He is a distinguished jazz pianist, saxophonist, and a radical thinker and an author. He has a master's degree in philosophy from the University of Essex. Exploring the causes of this conflict and finding solutions is a cause he has adopted with passion. His personal history places him at the heart of it and gives him an insight we need to attain to.
Hello. I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for the introduction. I write about few topics to do with Jewish identity politics, Zionism. As some of you, or maybe all of you, realize, I have at least 3 enemies who blame me to be an anti-Semite, and it's definitely not the case. I really hate everyone equally. So Jews are definitely not privileged on that front. I would like to talk about an old paper of mine. I read it today again, and I think it's actually an interesting paper. It is called The War Against Terror Within. As far as I understand, you are an anti-war gathering. And the way I'm going to do it, I'm going to talk primarily about Israel, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I'm going to talk about the Israelis, about Jewish diaspora, support of Israel, but our case is not that different. As you probably realize, there is a war that is committed in our name. And as you probably know, around 1.5 million Iraqis, we don't even know the exact number because nobody really cares, died since 2003. Let's talk about Israel. In 2006, summer, a minor border clash, I would say, leads to a massive Israeli offense that has become the second Lebanon war. We're talking about 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago. You probably remember it. The damage that Israel inflicts on Lebanon within the first 48 hours is immense. Nobody can believe it. Southern Beirut, beautiful city, a city that took 20 years to recover from an endless civil war, was wiped out. I don't know if you remember the images. It looks like a post-nuclear attack. Quite bizarre thing. How can a border clash that may cost 2 soldiers, at the time, by the way, it wasn't clear whether the soldiers were hijacked, kidnapped, borrowed. I always think of Israeli soldiers not as hijacked, as actually borrowed, because they usually, like Gilad Shalit, they don't want to keep him forever. They want to give him back, but to get thousands of Palestinians back instead, to exchange things. How is it that a minor border clash leads to such a retaliation, vengeance? It's pretty puzzling. Israel didn't come out as victorious as it thought it would out of this war. It was basically defeated by the Hezbollah, a very small paramilitary force. But Israel didn't learn the lesson. It will be interesting for us to understand why Israelis never learned the lesson. It is a very interesting subject. 2 years later, very similar scenario. Retaliation to a few rockets leads to a massive Israeli offense, known to us as Operation Cutlet. For 3 weeks or 3.5 weeks, Israel wipes out large parts of Gaza, drops WMD, white phosphorus, on civilians, blitz UNRWA shelter. At the time it happened, 94% of the Israeli Jewish population support these measures. We have footage of Israelis. You can check it out on the net. If you don't find it, send me an email. I'll find it for you. It's on YouTube. I'm sure that some of you saw it. We have footage of Israelis having barbecue parties. Did you see it? Did anyone here?
Yes.
Yeah. Barbecue parties on the hills around Gaza while you see white phosphorus burst over civilian population. What kind of people are so merciless and are not even shy enough to hide it in daylight, celebrating? Very unusual. Israel suffered a lot because of this behavior. We know about the Goldstone report. It lost more and more friends, and still, a year later, a flotilla of peace activists delivering medical aid, cement, papers, pencils to Gaza is attacked in international water. It takes us a few days to find on YouTube clear pictures of Israeli top elite Navy SEALs executing peace activists. You are a peace activist. You could have been there. You could have been subject to this barbarian attitude that knows no mercy. Again, pretty astonishing. It is pretty astonishing. What brings such an uncontrolled anger to life? For many years I was very puzzled by it, and it never changes. 3 weeks ago, Nakba Day, a bunch of Palestinian refugees still living in refugee camps in Syria, approaching the border. Israel used live ammunition, killed 9 of them. The world is shocked. But yesterday, they did exactly the same. And they were waiting. Yesterday they were waiting for it. So they killed 3 times more. Actually, in fact, I don't want to say how many they killed because we still don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe now it has been revealed. It is very concerning and very interesting what fuels this identity, and it is not sporadic war criminal. It is not a sporadic bunch of war criminals. It is not the government. It's not Bibi Netanyahu. As I said, 94% of the Israelis supported the murderous measures at the time of Operation Cut Lead. And I started to look into it. And I think that I realized what is happening there. And it is very frightening. What we're dealing with is projection. Simple projection. Are you familiar with the notion of projection? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Every couple are familiar with the notion of projection. Yeah, no, I'm about to explain. The more brutal you become, the more you are convinced that your victim may as well be as stupidly vicious as you are. Why? Because you are projecting. You believe that the other would behave